Today is Saturday, October 15th. Today, we are talking about the technology demanding more and more of our attention, social media, and specifically, the beauty filters so many people use. And yes, I've used them too. But what's the impact of this sort of warped reality on self-worth? The research shows it's significant, especially for young girls. And that's true even when we all know these types of filters exist. Later in the show, you'll hear from a social media influencer who is as close to unfiltered as you can get, breaking stereotypes and having a positive impact online. But first, I'm talking with researcher Claire Pescott. She's a senior lecturer at the University of South Wales. Her research and expertise focus on how social media filters influence children, even as young as 10 years old. Welcome to the Newsworthy Special Edition Saturday, when we sit down with a different expert or celebrity every Saturday to talk about something in the news. Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for our regular episodes, where we provide all the day's news in 10 minutes. I'm Erica Mandy. It's now time for today's Special Edition Saturday. Claire Pescott, thank you so much for coming on the Newsworthy.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So first, how obvious do you think it is that people are using filters? Especially for young people. Do you think they can tell when celebrities, influencers, even friends use these filters?
So I think even if people are aware that people are wearing them, it's still affecting you by continually looking at these perfect images. Even if you know rationally that people are putting them on, you're still being bombarded with a kind of idealized look, which adheres to beauty ideals.
Yeah, and how popular are these filters?
I think they're really popular, and particularly in my research, which is with 10 and 11-year-olds in their final year of primary school in the UK. For the girls, it was a real issue wearing filters and watching other people wearing filters, which was really affecting their self-esteem and wanting to look a particular way, which I was quite shocked at that age group, really.
Yeah, 10 or 11-year-olds. Can you tell us a little bit more about the impact on them and what they had to say?
So I had one-to-one sessions with children of 10 and 11 who I just asked them, how did you see yourself on social media and how do other people see you on social media? And with the girls in particular, there was a lot of talk about filters and how it made them feel. Sometimes it affected their mood. It could make them feel quite low. They didn't feel beautiful. They felt the need to look a certain way. Children actually made collages out of how the filter self, they put things like stars and imagery around themselves that they felt better when they had these filters on. It was particularly notable that the boys often use filters for fun and entertainment purposes. So they use the kind of floppy ears, the large tongues. They specifically said that they use them for that purpose and not to make them look different. So there was a real clear gender divide, which I think resonates with other research with older teenagers as well.
So it's impacting these young girls' self-esteem. What about the long-term consequences? Do we know yet?
My research in particular hasn't looked at long-term impact of it, but I would say that social media is not going away. People are using it more and more with handheld devices on their phones. Children can be looking at for kind of in excess of 5+ hours a day. And like I said, even if you know you're looking at filters, but continually looking at that can affect the way you feel. Back in my day, we kind of had magazines. We were quite aware as well that these photos were perhaps photoshopped, but I would be looking at a magazine once a week rather than continually. A lot of the way kind of fashion works nowadays is by influencers. So people being paid and endorsed to wear certain things, and advertisements makes up a really big part of using social media. So I do think the young people do have some discernment and they are aware that people are selling a particular image and brands. They do want to buy into that, I think.
Do you think there's anything good about these filters, maybe for self-expression, or is there a way that kids and teens can use social media in a healthier way?
I think in terms of interaction and communication, social media can be beneficial. I think in terms of identity portrayal, you can test out different personalities, maybe different ways of presenting yourself, like you said. But I think in terms of filters, I don't think there is that many positives of using filters. I think we should be aiming to encourage children and young people to follow more people who are authentic, perhaps, and showing themselves with perhaps their skin not looking perfect. Maybe they've got the odd spot. I think normalizing features that aren't perfect would help a lot.
Do you think the social media companies themselves should be doing more? What could they be doing?
I'm not so sure what social media companies could be doing, but I think it's up to us as adults to kind of educate young people, particularly around emotional repercussions, not just e-safety. In our schools, we tend to talk about e-safety in terms of predatory behaviour and being aware of kind of catfishing and being groomed online. But there's less talk about the emotional repercussions of using social media. So I think we should really be having more frank conversations and how we might feel when people comment continually on our appearance. And I think when you look at girls' posts, it is always or often at least comments about their physical appearance rather than anything else, like the contextualization of where they are or kind of general comments. It is about their appearance.
What's your best advice for parents?
I think for parents, they need to be aware, firstly, that they can't really stop their children going on it. Active mediation is better than restrictive mediation, I think. And having conversations about them and perhaps using celebrity posts to kind of have these discussions about how might you feel if you put this post up? How might you feel if you had so many likes? How might you feel if people comment negatively?
Any final thought or takeaway for us?
We need to not just look at social media through a deterministic lens in terms of risk and harm, but I think we need to draw upon the positives. I think having open conversations, not just assuming that you can block children from using these things, and particularly for girls, celebrating things that aren't just about their look. So encouraging, celebrating their sporting success, their artistic prowess, anything apart from just continually looks.
Still ahead, I'm joined by award-winning yoga instructor and entrepreneur Jessamyn Stanley, who ditches filters in favor of real photos she shares with nearly 500,000 followers on Instagram. She is the author of 2 books, founder of the wellness app, The Underbelly, and co-host of the podcast, Dear Jessamyn. She's been featured on magazines like Vogue and Sports Illustrated, and today she's sharing how she stays unfiltered online, even when she still struggles with her body image sometimes. She's also giving us her take on social media trolls who try to put her down. But first, a quick break to thank our sponsors. The Newsworthy is brought to you by Indeed. The world, just like your business, is changing fast. So when you need to hire, you have to find them ASAP. For top talent fast, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. If you hate waiting, Indeed's U.S. data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Plus, Indeed has a suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. So instead of making your candidates jump through hoops, Indeed's virtual interview tool means there's nothing to download, just click and talk. You can message, schedule, and interview top talent all in one place. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why when you sponsor a job, you only pay for quality applications from resumes in the database matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/newsworthy to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. The Newsworthy is also brought to you by Rothy's. I love the cozy feeling of fall, from big sweaters to cinnamon-topped lattes. Well, let Rothy's be your newest obsession for fall and every season after. Rothy's just launched 2 new sustainably made sneakers with extraordinary comfort for all-day wear. So what do I mean by sustainable? They are made with recycled single-use plastic bottles. Yes, your shoes. So I love knowing that my Rothy's shoes are not only stylish and comfortable, they are also better for the planet. Whether you like the luxe slip-on or a laid-back lace-up, you'll feel extraordinary comfort with each step, and they're built to last. Rothy's are 100% machine washable, which is especially helpful if you get white sneakers like I have. They'll be your favorite shoes for years to come. Oh, and in addition to Rothy's new sneakers, Rothy's original slip-on sneaker won Best Slip-on Sneaker from Self Magazine's 2022 Sneaker Awards. So get stylish shoes, versatile and durable enough to wear all the time with Rothy's. Get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. Okay, now to my conversation with Jessamyn Stanley. Jessamyn, thank you so much for coming on the Newsworthy.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
So we all know that social media has a lot of photoshopped and filtered images and can, research has shown, contribute to self-esteem issues, body issues. But at the same time, there's people like you using it as a way to break barriers, to break stereotypes, to show the real self. What do you think about social media overall, and what sort of impact do you hope to have using it?
For an introvert, social media is one of the few places where I can really be open, and it's been a really great place for me to find community. But what I've come to recognize is that there are so many pros and cons to showing any part of your life on the internet. And the biggest thing is really just balancing the perception that other people have of you with your perception of yourself. And so for me, that place of just trying to accept myself and become okay with whatever and whoever and however I decide to define myself on a given day, that feels like the practice with sharing on social media, that it's about like just trying to be okay with putting myself out there and not worrying so much about how another human being is going to feel about it.
So what do you think about filters? How much is it okay to use filters? How much are filters warping people's perception of reality?
For me personally, it is deeply problematic because it means that I am erasing parts of myself or trying not to look at pieces of myself. And when I look back at my first few pictures that I posted on Instagram, I obsessively filtered. And it's been this slow peeling back of like, just try to tell the truth. Just shoot it so that it can be clear and true and honest and authentic, and then go from there. I do think that there's a lot of harm that comes from filtering. It's not even necessarily for the person who is posting the photo or the video using a filter or the photoshopping. It's really anyone else who sees it and thinks that that is what a human being actually looks like. I think there are many of us who think that our bodies should look like Barbies to this day and are judging ourselves for not having Barbie bodies. Maybe skip the filter because then you can accept yourself and then other people can accept themselves.
It's obvious on your Instagram that while you're encouraging self-love, you are also posting about your own insecurities. So what motivates you to do both?
What motivates me to do both is the fact that I post about yoga. And so yoga being not just the postures that have been popularized, but yoga being this practice of acceptance and looking at all the different parts of yourself. I've come to feel that talking about my political beliefs, talking about my racial identity, talking about my internalized slut shaming, all of that, that is yoga as well. And that is something that I should be sharing. If I'm going to call myself a yoga teacher, if I'm going to be a yoga practitioner, then there's a certain amount of truth telling that is required.
It's kind of removing the filter of what's going on inside, too.
Exactly. And that's really the work, ultimately, is to actually pull down the internal filters to see without rose-tinted glasses every piece of what lies within.
So you recently wrote on an Instagram post that as a kid, you thought losing weight would make you happier. How did you push past that feeling and even today deal with any societal pressures?
I think that I have not pushed past it. And I think that that is the pushing past it. Perhaps if there's any kind of pushing past it, it's the acceptance that I started body shaming myself right out the womb. It was something that my mother still does to this day. It's something that I do, and it's a part of who I am. And to really just look at that and let it be there and not try to change it, that has been really monumental for me because it means that I'm able to accept my whole self. Age is so helpful. Oh my goodness. Age is such a gift. Being able to say like, you know what? I'm 35. I don't have the capacity to worry about how my body is perceived by other people.
What kind of reactions have you gotten to the work that you do? What kind of messages have you gotten? Because I imagine that you do hear from people that you impact in a positive way.
I do hear from people, yes. And I would say that more so than any particular type of person reaching out, the main thing that I receive is people being like, I see that it's okay to be myself, however I am, whatever you look like, wherever you are on the globe, it's okay to be myself. And that to me is like, that's the whole reason to do any of this. That's the reason to endure trolling, because there is, of course, people who feel the opposite, who feel very much that they do not think that you should accept yourself. They don't think that everybody is perfect today. And whenever I receive that kind of feedback, I always think that whoever it is that is saying those things is very sad, ultimately, and that what I can offer is compassion.
Well, thank you so much to both of our guests for sharing their insights. You can find Jessamyn Stanley on Instagram using the handle My Name is Jessamyn, and follow researcher Claire Pescott on Twitter. If you've enjoyed these conversations today, send the link to a friend and check out the Newsworthy's regular episodes. We provide 10-minute news roundups every weekday to help you start your day. We'll be back on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend.